Good morning, Unicorn fam. Welcome to the Crypto Unicorns Weekly Town Hall number 14 with Aron Beierschmitt, Crypto Unicorn CEO and co-founder. I'm joined by my amazing co-host, Witty Unicorn. Right now, the Shadow Corns have eaten his microphone. Sorry, not sorry. This is the weekly town hall number 14, where you can ask your questions regarding anything and everything crypto unicorns. No alpha corner for today, though, Unicorn fam. Though I am telling you, even if we aren't starting with the usual alpha, we'll be ending this AMA with something you don't want to miss. So I hope you stick around. Let's get straight to the questions. And speaking of questions, we are debuting our anonymous questions feature. Hey, Aaron. Good morning. You ready for an anonymous question?
Let's do it, Sparkly.
All right. So let's see. It seems like delegation leverages assets for pulling out income from the economy, which could end up harming the economy and the project. What are Aaron's thoughts on the pros and cons of delegation within crypto unicorns and the impact it might have? What are his thoughts and how they plan to find a balance? Ooh.
Yeah, we have a number of advantages, I think, on that front over other games that are live, as well as some that are coming. In terms of the depth and complexity of the farm sim itself, I've already seen some people. Guilds have struggled to deploy for a number of reasons. One is the complexity of the system and needing to be coordinated and needing to have trust in the scholars, I think, above and beyond what you need in other games within the space. And I think it's a double-edged sword. And again, I point to the complexity of the system and the management effort needed to appropriately coordinate your scholars such that you can produce your intended, let's just call it ROI, as being a barrier to pure value extraction. On the other side of that, every new plot of land granted to a delegate requires an enormous amount of progression, which supports the overall game economy. So I think in the short term, it is a benefit to the economy, really through the midterm. And long term, the transition towards tribes and the more kind of the morphing of the farm sim into more of a kind of PvP game, tying in kind of the Shadowcorn fiction and our plans with the Shadowcorn roadmap and kind of Act 3 raids is how long term we prevent that from being purely extractive. So generally, some of the complexity in management is intentional, expected, and I have no desire to create really smooth on-ramps for people to create button mashing farms, period. I want people to build teams and tribes that must be highly coordinated and highly skilled and strategic to succeed within this game. That is the path to economic sustainability, and is kind of my position. So I don't view delegation as a bad thing at all. I do see it as a bit of a double-edged sword. I think inherent complexity within the sim itself is very helpful for us on that front. And again, long term, the pivot towards tribe and guild v guild combat, and again, I say guild v guild, I need to refer to it as tribes, because I'm speaking about the social system within our game versus necessarily the existing game guilds today. So anyway, happy to answer follow-ups. I'm sure we're going to get a ton of questions on delegation today, so I'll leave it at that and we'll continue on.
All right. So the anonymous person who asked that question, if you want to give me a follow-up, just go down in the DMs. And that is a preview of our anonymous town hall question feature. Additional mechanics will be on the community updates channel soon, so be on the lookout. Okay, let's go to the usual town hall instructions. To accommodate everybody's questions, we have a 3 questions per person rule. We'd love to answer your questions, but we have a limited time. If a question has been answered previously, you'll have to ask something else. If you want to ask a question, please press the Request to Speak button. The button looks like a raised hand. You can queue up while somebody's talking, like right now. Once we accept your request, you'll see a green bar at the top of your Discord. Click Accept to begin speaking. When you're unmuted, feel free to ask your question. We also have questions from members of the Unicorn fam who can't make it on stage. It's on the Town Hall Questions channel. But take note that we prioritize spoken questions over written ones. If you have a written question and you're not sure if it'll make the town hall, press Request to Speak to ask it on stage. If you see an interesting question from someone else, you can also step on the stage and ask for the person who wrote it. Okay, looks like we have a hand up. We have L. Come on over. Hey, good morning.
Hi, everyone. Does somebody do push to talk, or can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, cool. So good morning, everyone. So, Aaron, I just had a question about pretty much the status of native delegation. So it's still in the white paper, saying that it was going to be coming soon after launch. Obviously, we had some delays with other stuff. So I was wondering, I think if you look in the delegation channel, if you look in some Gen chat, you can see a kind of the community sentiment towards the second party delegation, and it's not what people expected. So I was wondering what the status is on a native delegation system, and if it's still in the works or if it's just going to be completely off the table, and if the white paper is going to be amended to reflect.
Yeah, I mean, we've made this point earlier. I don't plan to continue to amend the white paper every single time we choose to make a change. We did update the roadmap section of the white paper some time ago, and it did not include delegation. I continue to see I don't know why people aren't more excited that we have external partners looking to build tools for us. And if those tools don't fit the bill, reach out to those external partners and tell them what you want. Our team continues to be focused on the core game loops, which I think are more important than in the enormous effort to build a native delegation system. So, that has been a change since we launched. And my suggestion is that the community embraces the tools available to them if they wish to utilize delegation.
Okay, so just to clarify, like for sure, LG won't be working on any delegation at all.
Not unless the community comes forward with a proposal that forces us to shift our roadmap. But that's kind of where we're at on it. I want quests, I want jousting because they're so much more important to the long-term health of the game economy. Tribes is very interesting, and this is where things get the way we're doing the tribes feature and how you build out a tribe and the shared space of that tribe, you might get a lot of the features of delegation because you're putting players together in a shared map and in a shared environment. And potentially those players can come in and do certain things within that environment, right? And so we have started to look at tribes as a version of delegation. The worry that I have right now is I see a lot of people wanting delegation as a system that only allows someone to come in and mash buttons on the farm. I'm not going to build that. Use one of our second party partners. People looking to restrict scholars to the point where they can't delete a building or do something. It's like, I am not going to create a virtual metaverse thing that only allows people to do us. It's like, no.
No, I can agree. I can agree with that
I
part.
want you to build a tribe. I want you to build trust. If you don't have trust in your scholars enough for them to perform the farming operations and things of that nature, like delegation is not appropriate in that sense. Now,
Yeah,
with
I think we see it now.
NFT, with Stash from Troy Guild, we also have systems coming online in the coming months around lending, right? With the launch of Jousting, it may make a lot of sense for you to want to lend out solid jousting corns. And again, they will offer white label like guild lending, right? Where the income is obviously flowing back to the owner account based on the set split. So there'll be generic marketplace lending as well as white labeled kind of intra or internal guild lending, if that makes sense. So that's kind of where I sit, Elle, and I recognize that there are people who want a very specific, narrow delegation feature that seems to be very focused on button mashing in the farm sim. That's the piece that I don't think is appropriate for the LG team to build.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you on that part. I think what mostly everyone is looking at is kind of like a peg axis type of structure. The way I would see it would be like a internal delegation mechanism. You put up your unicorns and your land, and it'll be in like an open marketplace, and you put up your percentages, and then whoever decides to take on those assets, the cut is distributed that way. I don't think hardcore restrictions need to be set. But yeah, thank you for answering my questions. I appreciate your time.
No, thank you for asking them, Elle. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you so much, Elle. I'm looking over at Town Hall questions right now. Give me a minute. All right, we have a question from Crazy Crypto. Aron mentioned a farming tool during the previous AMA. Can you elaborate more on this tool? What does this tool do?
I think they're referring to the farming user experience improvements. So next week, you can expect a release on that front. It will, if you've seen on Twitter, the new claim effect where you simply tap a farm and there's a nice little explosion of berries with the number that you collected, great. It removes that second click, so it reduces the collection clicks by 50%. On the farm, it also just is kind of fun to go through and go pop, 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 pop. It really looks awesome. So that's the first part of it. And then in addition to that, we were able to get in, and forgive me, whoever made this suggestion live in the AMA, I've forgotten who exactly it was, but there was a suggestion on like a double click. If a farm is empty and ready to plant, you double click, it pulls up that menu without you having to kind of scroll down to click plant. So we're trying to put these improvements in that, again, are just improving the efficiency at which you plant and harvest. In the Quests release, there will be a new system, which I've teased several times now. That system, you craft effectively what is a seed bag. That seed bag is then planted, and there is a longer amount of time on collection of that bag of seeds, but obviously a higher amount of seeds is produced than just planting a single seed. So that, on top of the user experience improvements that we're making next week, I think will solve the majority of the challenge that people have, especially if you're operating at scale right now. And I expect it to reduce the amount of time spent planting and harvesting by 60 to 70%. We'll evaluate that and see if further improvements are needed. I think this is where it's a bit of a tightrope. I will not make a system so efficient that you can just open up the game, press a button, claim everything, press a button, plant everything, and kind of move on, because we're removing the amount of work. We're removing the proof of work from the system, right? But as a daily player myself, trying to hit 3 sessions a day, I completely agree that the farm sim is taking too much time relative to output. And so between the UX improvements next week, and then with the release of quests and the seed bag feature, which of course you'll craft the seed bags, you'll then be able to plant those, longer time to harvest, but far higher output than planting of a single seed with a unicorn. And so I think that will vastly improve the experience of coming back in. So you might have one of your 3 sessions a day focused on the planting and harvesting, and then the remaining sessions of the day focused on crafting, quests, gathering collection, and that kind of thing. So I think between all of that, having played the dev build for next week, I think it's going to get us in a really, really good spot. And then again, we'll see. Further improvements are, of course, always possible. Generally, I think we're pretty excited by what's happening with the Quest UI in particular. It's the first like rebuild of the UI, so you can expect to see a more efficient and modern mobile-esque UI with the launch of the Quest feature. And then we can begin going backwards through systems and applying it. Again, I agree. There's further improvement on the farm front, but I do think between UX improvements next week and the seed bag system, you're going to see 60 to 70% time reduction or time spent reduction on farming. So I think it's a great improvement. I think it will be really impactful, and then we'll evaluate and see if further changes are needed.
All right. I'm so excited for the farm improvements. So 60 to 70%. This has definitely been something that people have been looking for. Props to the dev team. We do have a follow-up question. Let's see. So somebody said the farm sim will turn into a PvP game. Is that what you mean? Is this an opt-in like Shadowcorn, like the Shadowcorn roadmap explains, or will all farms be a danger like Clash of Clans?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't think we will force everyone to put things at risk, but I do think we will create reward tiers or zones, and the closer to the high risk zones you choose to be, the more at risk you are, but obviously the higher reward there is for being there, right? So part of this over time, like the ultimate question is with the farm sim itself, eventually players progress to the point where they have hit the top of the content. And yes, we can continue to add new buildings and things, but if we do not create some form of risk and conflict, the system will not be sustainable. That is just the end state of it. Yes, our battle loops, which are skill-based and include treasury rake, as well as just this constant currency exchange of RBW and Unim from the winners to the losers in each battle loop, right? Like that will create sustainability within the ecosystem because you can just run those skill-based battle loops. You're having fun, you're engaging in that, you're ranking up on the leaderboard, even if you're not necessarily winning every single match. And every time those entry fees are getting churned, which is great, right? Or redistributed with the 10% rank into the treasury. And then obviously the winner taking the majority of the token rewards. Back to the farm sim, the plan for stepping into PvP and leveraging the Shadowcorn versus Unicorn fiction is kind of the crux of how we're transitioning that, I think is the path long term towards ultimate sustainability within the economy. So I have this vision of you needing to like, hey, I'm going to go into this high risk zone and I need to have my defenses built up. I need to have unicorns assigned to defense. I need to be prepared for effectively combat. But on the other side of that is a higher reward output. And that risk reward, I think, will be engaging and will be fun. But again, and Clash of Clans is a great example because if you really think about Clash of Clans and how they do matchmaking and stuff, you're always being matched against roughly an equal. I say that in the Elder game, you really do start to smash people. But opt-in is the preference over it just being generic, but those who choose not to enter the fray are likely taking a hit on the reward front. And again, that's about how we balance overall the ecosystem and the economy.
All right, that does make sense. Okay, we have Jujak. Please get up on the stage. Hey, good morning.
Hello, hello.
Hi.
It was you that suggested the UX change, right?
Yes, I believe it was me.
And I missed one. We're also separating out and adding tabs to the workshop to reduce the amount of scrolling.
Yay!
Yes.
I'm sorry, I forgot that one. But yeah, they were both great suggestions, easy changes. We got them in.
Thank you. The things that I wanted to ask you now about, I didn't catch you from the very beginning. How about the feature of sorting corns?
That is coming in next week as well. So look at me. I'm just missing all kinds of shit. You'll have to forgive me, everyone. I am recovering from COVID today. I'm a little bit brain dead. But yes, in the UX update next week, you're getting the farm collection improvement, which reduces a click, berry explosion, and fun. You're getting the double click on the farm to start your to pull up the plant menu, reducing the need to scroll down that extra click. You're getting filt and sort within the unicorn inventory as well as the unicorn selection screens. And the updated workshop tabs.
Oh, that is so nice. In the sorting part of the corns, did you implement, let's say, show only babies, show only adults, for example?
Sort by breeding points, by energy, by I don't know about life cycle actually.
That would be very nice because most of us are farming with babies, and it would be very nice to have only the babies shown up if we are not using adults to farm, for example.
I'll confirm that here shortly. Do you have another question while I?
Yes, sure. Also about farming improvement. Are you considering, for example, when you open up the farming screen, you select the farm, you open the farm screen. If you double click on a seed, to just start farming directly by double clicking on a seed without the need of hitting again start farming button?
So you're not farming with a unicorn in that case?
Yes, in the case, let's say I do 2 farming sessions, one with corns and the other without corns. On the session that I don't want to use corn, it would be very useful to just double click the seed and start the farming session. Or maybe put the corn before and after that double click the seed.
That's something that we will need to consider. I think when I mentioned that the questing UI has really come together very nicely, and I think is hitting the quality bar that we expect of ourselves with respect to user experience and UI. Going backwards to reapply that to the farm sim, like we will consider things like you just mentioned in terms of how to make that and I've seen a lot of the great ideas from the community around even getting rid of the menu. You tap on it, here's your seed selection very quickly, right? And then, that would potentially be an appropriate spot to add that double click to just plant the seed automatically and not wait on the unicorn. Just clicking on the seed asks you to assign a unicorn and kind of go through that. So we're going to work one step at a time, sir.
Yeah, sure. No, I was just asking if you took that into account now. That was the question. In future, of course, maybe there are a lot other suggestions, but what you already said that will be implemented next week, it will be a huge improvement on the farming sim.
Well, I'm happy to hear that. It definitely is playing great, and I think it'll be a really nice short-term kind of improvement prior to a larger UX refactor of farming. And again, I think with things like seed bags and stuff, like I'm going to be very curious to get feedback after that pass, because my expectation is most people will take the extra crafting effort to reduce the amount of time and effort needed. It's also going to drive more people to evolve babies into adults, given that adults will exclusively be able to plant and harvest seed bags. Unfortunately, babies just can't carry them.
So only the adults will be able to plant the seed bags.
That is correct. They're too heavy for the poor little babies.
Okay, that's something to take into account. Good
Definitely
info
drug a
to
little bit of
have.
alpha out of me there for sure.
Yeah, I will request a new title in Discord, the Alpha Extractor.
Thank you for coming up, man. I
Okay,
appreciate the
thank you.
questions.
Thank you.
Yeah, that role would definitely fit you. Thank you so much, Jack. That thing about the seed bags, you guys would definitely understand if you saw it, but you might see. Let's leave it at that. Okay, we have Blackfield. Come up to the stage, please.
Good morning, everyone.
Good
Hi,
morning.
Paul. Good afternoon,
First,
sir.
I, first I wanted to ask why there was no alpha today, but since you are recovering, I just wanted to say that I really appreciate that you're still being here, nevertheless, and I totally understand.
No worries at all, man. Honestly, I missed last week, so I really enjoy these, so it's no problem at all.
All right. First question I have is there any update on the Shadow Corn roadmap?
Ah, yes. So Shadowcorn staking, where the web work is nearing completion on that front, which is obviously the front end for the new mini game that is staking. The smart contract work has kicked off, and we're hopeful to begin actively testing that on testnet in the next couple of weeks, and we're targeting an early October launch on that front. So be out on the lookout for a detailed blog post that will go into the mechanics of that mini game. And yeah, I'm pretty excited to get that one out and in the open. And like I've teased before, it's going to be obviously it's exclusive for Shadowcorn holders. You of course must have a hatched Shadowcorn. Shadowcorn eggs cannot enter the mini game itself. The materials and resources that you'll be getting throughout the minigame, which is going to run roughly 6 weeks. So to kind of tease how the system works is there's a decision you will need to make every day. Based on the outcome of that or the result of that decision, you will either proceed to the next decision or not. And then roughly every week it resets and you'll get another attempt to kind of run the labyrinth, if you will. And we plan to run that at least 5, if not 6 weeks in a row. So it's going to be kind of a longer term event, allowing you to kind of grind it out and begin to receive Shadowcorn specific materials and other fun stuff that I'm just not going to let you drag out of me today. That tease up a Forge event that leads into Act 2, which is our big war in the Dark Forest. So anyway, Blackfield, I'm pretty pumped about it. We're making great progress. I think it looks good. It'll be a huge step up from Dark Forest Act 1, which is such a simple little mini game. I think it's going to be really exciting for people to kind of play. And given there's kind of this daily decision, well, I mean, you have a time frame in which to make the decision, and then you know the result of it every single day. I think it'll be kind of fun. And Sparkly and some of the CM team are going to be kind of running some like fun live Twitch events around some of the big decision gates or the results. So it should be a good bit of content and a lot of fun for all of our Shadowcorn holders out there.
Sounds really cool. Thanks. Am I suspecting correctly that we might see the CGI trailer today after the AMA, after the Townhall?
You suspect correctly, sir.
Can we please finish the Townhall right now?
We could definitely wrap it up. No, well, we'll go as long as everybody wants. But yeah, no, I'm excited to get that out the door. It's a nice little 60-second kind of teaser that I think tees up the future of kind of all of our CGI content. This is really just the first of many things. We've had a number of shops actually reach out to us recently, and are likely going to be engaging several so that we can produce more content. I effectively want a trailer per feature, per major feature. So, we've already kicked off work on Jousting, a Jousting trailer. We're looking at a trailer for The Dark Forest Act 2, which will be the first one to kind of feature Shadowcorns. And yeah, anyway, I'm just really, really pumped about that. I sent it to the Gotham Group, which is a LA-based studio focused on animation and comics. And so we're kind of in discussion around how to use it as a way to pitch our IP to potential writers as well as studios. So yeah, I'm excited. It's a nice little quick teaser that's going to be fun. So can't wait to see everybody's reaction to it.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much. Have a good week, everyone.
Yeah. Cheers.
Have a good week, Blackfield. That's another alpha extractor. if you think about it.
I ruined the surprise.
Yeah.
I couldn't keep it in.
Nah, it's okay. Shadowcorn staking is a love story to our beloved community. Do you guys remember Hundercorns? Let me tell you, whatever unicorns do, Shadowcorns can do better. Okay, let's go to a written question. Oh, no more questions? You skipping straight to the end? Is that what you want? That looks like what the community wants. But we do have a ton of questions left, and we have to ask them, team. Okay, so from Steve, why is it taking so long to fix the in-game stash options? I hope LG doesn't plan on using the third-party manages as permanent solutions. I think he's talking about Moonstream here. Can devs explain? Maybe it's a code issue. What's stopping players from choosing how much RBW and or Unim to stash at this step? I want to show the image. Oh, okay, I'll look for the image. But I think we have a general idea of what he's talking about, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So Stash V2 is the feature that our team is working on. It includes a stash tool within our app .cryptounicorns.fun site, which will allow you to stash in, similar to the Moonstream tool, arbitrary amounts of Unim and RBW. And then the reverse of that inside of the game is the ability to stash out arbitrary amounts of Unim and RBW. And that tool becomes the focal point for the entire ecosystem in terms of being able to very easily stash in and out of the other game experiences. So Unicorn Party, Rainbow Rumble, things like that. And anyway, it's not a unsolvable technical issue at all. And it's something that we completely agree with the community on, and we are working towards. The Stash V2 feature I'm really pushing to see included with quests, but we'll have to see on that front. Skinning the Moonstream tool effectively and getting it in our native UI is not the end of the world, and is web work, not game work. The stash out. The stashing out of arbitrary amounts, a little bit of core game team work, but it is on the schedule and top of mind for the team.
All right, makes sense. Okay, we have a written question from Jackie Yates. It's a follow-up to that anonymous question from earlier.
Yeah.
Hi, Aaron. I feel like LG is taking the easy way out of facilitating proper delegation. The tools made available are great, and I'm looking forward to scale into those. But something that really bugs my mind is your statement that we need to trust our scholars for them not to, for example, destroy buildings. Imagine a scholar having a bad day and just deciding to ruin months of work and thousands of dollars just because they can. Why would we facilitate this? Just because? Why do you think it's okay to make this decision without specifically talking about this with the community? I think it is an absolute must to be able to retain control over assets, even when delegated. And LG should put some facilitation work into this.
It's a tough one for me to answer, man, because on some level, I'm like, if you're taking on the risk of building out a delegation empire, if you were renting houses to someone and they have a bad day and they stop paying rent and they destroy your, home, you take your security deposit and you evict them. There is risk associated with going down the delegation route. That is a risk. Creating a system in which it's a completely command and control situation in which the scholars are on complete bumpers and again being guided through to click a specific button at a specific time during that day, it's just, I don't know. I disagree that that is something that we need to provide. There are going to be a lot of ways to delegate very easy with the systems from Capital DAO and Narval, as well as the white label rental marketplaces for things like all of the battle loops. So if you want to run delegation teams into the battle loops, you're not worried about any of that because you're simply lending them a corn. They're going out to execute. If you have built a great team of delegates that can go in and joust, or playing Unicorn Party or grinding out Rainbow Rumble, like you can create these esport teams that are going to go out there and do that stuff. The farm sim is meant to be highly complex. It is meant to be a system in which you do have to trust your scholars a bit. And the idea that one of them does go in and throw toys and destroy your land, like that's awful. I'm not saying that's a good thing. That's terrible. You're going to have to pull that land back. But again, you took risk on that. You took a risk doing that. You are in a position in which you can do that. Do I create a system where those with all the assets right now can simply exponentially compound their return by being able to very easily and risk-free delegate outward? That seems wrong to me. That seems wrong to me. When someone else with one land, 5 corns, they're grinding it out every day and growing and growing and growing, they don't have that risk, but they also don't have the exponential potential for return by the fact that they are going out and delegating and building those teams. So, I again would say you're taking on that risk if you go that route, but you have that higher potential reward because you are aggregating work and effort under your, and for your assets, right? The opposite is also true. If someone's great and takes a level 1 land and gets it all the way to level 8, awesome, right? Like, this idea early on, when we talked to a lot of the major guilds, they would say things like, wow, your game is really complicated, or it's going to be hard to coordinate buys and sells, or, what is our strategy? And I just remember kind of, being a little incredulous and being like, this is the path to a sustainable system. This is not put 100,000 people into a game and have them, mash buttons every day at set times, right? I want people coming in and enjoying this experience, having fun. Even if they're putting in work for assets that they are renting or they don't own because of the delegation system. Now, having said all that, Jackie, if the community feels very strongly about this, who am I to... I've given my opinion. The community can put forward a proposal and we can absolutely look at what would be required to restrict building deletion. But the whole scholars having a bad day and they just want to trash your stuff, like that's terrible. But you can pull it back, you take a loss, you got to restart, So I don't know if that should be on us to create a system that just puts all these restrictions in so you can trust people, without doing the management work to find people you can trust in the first place. So sorry for a bit of the rant there, Jackie. Again, if you want to put forward a proposal that gets community support, we will absolutely look at placing restrictions there. But it's of my opinion that people who are in a position of power and are fortunate enough to be able to delegate assets because they have too many to play, should have to take on some risk in that environment. And maybe I'm just on the other side of the fence.
Okay. Those are Aaron's thoughts. Oh, we do have a question or a follow-up. If delegation markets are available for battle loops, I feel like delegation from the farm sim is not needed personally. So I think we're thinking a PEG-AXE style delegation markets for jousting and
Yeah, and I mean
how do
that's
you feel
kind of
about that?
that's kind of my point too. If you're just looking at like 3 to 6 months out when we have jousting, when we have Unicorn Party, when we have Rainbow Rumble out, you're gonna have way less complex loops in which you can hand people just unicorns and have them go out and perform. And I love that because people will only win if they have the skill to do so. And that is a sustainable system because it is again, it's real-time PvP, right? So there's going to be one winner and 9 losers in every unicorn battle, right? The farm sim is meant to be this highly complex thing that is the engine of the economy. And I want people to step into that sim and want to compete and kind of dominate in it. And I think those who delegate are going to have to find a way to manage the complexity of that across a group of human beings, right? And I hope people understand that we're trying to be very intentional about that because we believe that that helps protect the sustainability of the system. And making things too efficient, too smooth, too controlled creates avenues for pure exploitation, where we're really leaning towards how do we build a system where, and again, this kind of comes back to tribes, where tribes may start to give people a lot of what they want out of delegation. But no, I'm happy to hear that counterpoint. I do agree. As the battle loops come online, there are very far easier systems in which you could delegate assets to meaningfully, right? Where the farm sim itself, I think we all have to ask ourselves, do we want 100,000 people with, say, 10 plots of land running the engine of the game economy? Or do we want 1 million people with 1 plot of land? What do we think is going to be more sustainable and successful? A bunch of people running their own farms or a bunch of guilds delegating out these farms? I think from Laguna's perspective, we are prepared for both eventualities with tribes and the push towards PvP within the farm sim and introducing risk and conflict and things. We're trying to push it in the direction of a game that people enjoy the strategy of, above and beyond the pure economic sim that is the farm loop. So anyway, I feel like I'm ranting at this point. Sparkly, was there a follow-up?
Yeah, we have a follow-up. I agree not limiting scholars to do only X, Y, or Z, but I do think it's necessary to limit their destructive possibilities. Referring to your example with housing, they put down the deposit and I can go sue them after they've destroyed my house. You expect me to sue someone far away from because of a couple of deleted pixels? I don't think this asking for too much. The world isn't always perfect. These things will happen. Delegation tools themselves already have risks involved because of how they work. And he doesn't want to add another layer of risk through gameplay. He's not looking to limit the fun, but he just wants to limit the negative downside.
What if a
Uh,
scholar needs to delete a building because they've hit a progression point, right? Which happens, and you do need to delete a building. Like, I think I've said my piece on the matter. If there is enough community interest in restricting the deletion of buildings, we'll absolutely hear it out and look to put it in the roadmap. And that's where I stand on it.
all right. As always, our forums are open and we would love to hear your voice, Unicorn fam. We are building this IP together. and we need your participation. Please continue to create threads for ideas and draft proposals for crypto unicorns. Go to the forum at forum.cryptounicorns.fun and share your thoughts with the rest of the community. Step by step, we will make crypto unicorns fully decentralized. Okay, let's see. We have Cookie. Ooh, okay. We have Cookie from Capital DAO coming up to ask a question. Please step on the stage.
Hey Aaron, I hope you're doing great today. I just have a question. I'm not quite sure if this was asked before in the couple of past AMAs, but are you guys planning to okay, for my first question, do you have like an algorithm whereas how does the marketplace auction prices calculate? Like, I've noticed that there is no edit button on how much RBWs are being sold or bought from the marketplace, and it just it kind of like it piques my interest. Like, why is it that this type of berry or seed is much more expensive than the other berries, or like since it's a preset, how do you guys calculate this amounts of RBWs in the marketplace? And then for my second question is are you planning on maybe uh speeding up the process on or maybe like something like allowing the baby corns to use the cart or the workshop in the future, if that is somewhere in the plan?
Yeah, so on the second question, definitely no. Only adults will ever be able to access the carts. We might allow babies to compete in certain specific battle loops or during certain specific events, but babies evolving into adults is a very, very important part of the economy, and I don't want to create an incentive for people to not do that. On the question on the RMP, so the RMP marketplace is a off-chain AMM, an automated market maker. So it functions identically to something like Uniswap or most of the DEXs that you would interact with in the DeFi space. So the price that you're being quoted is at that point in time what the price is based on the amount of buying and selling against the marketplace itself. So we, the Laguna team, only set the original prices on May 5th. And since then, we've made two liquidity adjustments. It might have been three total, but I know at least two liquidity adjustments, which was pulling assets out of each of those pools. So, every single asset, let's just take Plainberries, for example, there's a certain amount of RBW that sits in that pool. And as people buy and sell Plainberries against it, again, it moves the price up or down. So that's the beauty of the system that we have created is there is a real-time 24/7, 365 marketplace where nearly every soft currency within the game is paired against our rainbow token. And it's one of the things I'm really very, very proud of that the team pulled that off. And I've been super, super happy to see prices fluctuating, based on demand. Did that answer your question, Cookie?
Yes, it definitely answers my question. Thank you very much for answering it. It made me clear that you guys are doing great in this economy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cookie. We appreciate that. Okay, now moving on to other questions. Okay, here's another question about the Rainbow Marketplace. In the RMP, we still don't have decimals. Why do things that cost 20.1 RBW deduct 21 every time? I'm losing lots of single RBW because I have to buy set amounts. For example, I can't buy a 5,000 lot of pollen in one hit. So I could end up losing 500 times 0.9 RBW, which is 450 RBW loss due to a lack of decimals.
The decimal, I saw this piece of feedback already, and I am thinking about whether or not we add that, but I want to make sure that they're not interpreting the built-in RMP tax, because we take a 5% fee into the treasury every time you make a buy and sell. But I don't think that this player has been here. I don't think they're misinterpreting that. So it's a valid point of feedback. I don't disagree with it. We just wanted to avoid complexity in numbers within the UI, but it's a note that I'm taking down, and I'll discuss it with the design team in our meeting tomorrow.
All right, great. Okay, so we have a question. Okay, it's how was the development progress? What's your comment on the efficiency of progress? If you were here, Chris Jaja, can you please specify what exactly you mean by that? Because it's kind of like a general question. Let's look at the other question. Yeah.
If they're just looking for a comment on like dev velocity and stuff, like I'm very, very happy with it. Just a couple weeks ago, we shipped that major performance improvement and launched LVM, which has been working really phenomenally. I don't know anyone looking at treasury inflows. We basically 10x'd the amount that we were earning per day with on average. Which is great. It's a start, and it was really exciting to push a feature like that, which again touched web, blockchain, client, and server. So that's the largest possible feature for us as a team, is one that touches everything like that. And to see that go live without issue, to see the 10x performance improvement, like that was great. And then now coming in next week with this UI UX improvement, even better. There's stuff happening on the back end as well. We call it Heartbeat, that gives us a far better control over correcting any failed blockchain transactions. We're seeing far, far, far fewer issues in those flows. And we're having a lot of great conversations with the Polygon team around avenues available to us for reducing the number of confirmations that we wait. And so there's a lot of, I think, really exciting stuff on that front. And so if we continue to nail at least one client release every month and a server release or two, coupled with design and tuning or meta updates and changes, like at that point, we are really moving at, a great pace, a really, really great pace. So my expectation is that the progress the community has seen with the last build continues into the next few. And I would say we're kind of out of the woods on that front.
Completely agree. By the way, time check. We have 5 minutes left in this hour. Aron, are you good for another 30 minutes?
If we have enough questions for that.
Oh, we have a ton of questions.
Cool.
Okay. All right. Let's move to a spoken question. Bias wants to ask a question. Please come up on the stage.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Awesome. Just circling back to the RMP, the marketplace. So if we have an increase in daily active users, will you adjust the liquidity pools on the RBW side, seeing that there will be more demand?
Yes. So absolutely. And we've already tested both. We've only to date removed. I say that. I think we added liquidity as a test. So we can actually do that live without taking the game down. And, we know that that works well. So we have a lot of flexibility on that front. And internally, we do have this idea of at these, so we're sitting between, 1,500 and 2K DAO a day. That's pretty much where we've been since launch. So we have these internal gates as DAO grows, let's say 5 or 10K, I'm just throwing out numbers, where we will add liquidity commensurate with this onboarding of new DAO. So yeah, that's absolutely how the system was designed.
Right here. And a follow-up question to that.
Mm-hmm.
When adding RBW later down the line, will you consider the price of RBW, or are you happy with where the price is now, both in terms of RBW and in terms of fiat equivalent?
I won't be happy with the price of RBW until it is well over $1 billion fully diluted again. So I'm not happy with the price of RBW today. To your point, yes, the price of RBW will get, will be a key point of consideration in when we're looking to either add or remove liquidity. So absolutely, yeah. We also have the ability, sorry to interrupt, we also have the ability to adjust the size of the bundles, right, up and down, and that might be a slightly better way to react to the price of RBW, right, in the event that it spikes upward, right? So we could increase or decrease the size of the bundles in addition to adjusting liquidity, right? So all of a sudden, maybe you're buying, 500 plain seeds or something instead of, if that makes sense. So we have the ability to adjust the size of the bundles, not just the liquidity in the pool.
Yeah, totally. Cool. And then just the final question then. Are you aiming to keep the barrier of entry low-ish as it is right now? Or do you intend to bump it up? Or, yeah, just thoughts on that.
That's a very good question. And it's kind of like this double-edged thing, right? Because we all benefit from the barrier to entry increasing because the price of all of our assets is going up, right? But then, of course, it creates this barrier. And of course, prior to launch, given everything that was kind of happening, we literally launched right as the market began the downturn. We had all those problems like, I was getting all these questions around the barrier to entry is too high, it's too high, right? And now it's okay, it's in a better spot there. As we're thinking a lot about growth, we have plans for the Unim Fill the Pool event, which is happening in the near future. And then I've been teasing the partnership with that centralized exchange, which is going to be kind of doing a raffle. And then I have a lot of acquisition strategies around the purchase of assets, and then obviously the airdrop of those assets to specifically targeted wallets that we're going to be announcing, I believe, this month as kind of an ongoing effort to bring in new players. And so when I look at that, I guess I will say I care most about on-ramping new players right now. And whether that is us going out and acquiring those players via various marketing efforts and initiatives, I care most about acquiring new DAO right now, and I guess I'll leave it at that. And the question is, does that require the barrier to be low? Like not as low as it is today. It needs to be reasonable, and that's where we plan to leave it, I guess I'll say. But it's very complicated because shadow corns should hold value because they're only ever going to be the number of shadow corns that exist today, right? Land has this ultimate finite number that seems really big in some cases today, but with growth in the ecosystem is not, especially if you look at kind of the longer term multi-year plan. And then you have unicorns, and the unicorn supply is going to fluctuate based on the growth of the shadowcorns, the ascension of the shadowcorns, the production of minions, and that kind of thing, right? And so it's interesting. You've obviously hit on something that we talk about a lot. And right now I'm much more focused on acquisition strategies that give players an opportunity to try our game. And if those retain well and are working, my focus will be on doubling down on those strategies. Keeping the floor price like artificially low to allow people to on-ramp seems like the wrong strategy. So it's not something that I would consider. Does that answer your question, man? Any follow-ups?
A lot of follow-ups, but I think that was my 3 questions. So maybe I'll come back if no one else has anything to add on.
For sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, guys. We have another person who wants to step on the stage. Okay, please come up on the stage, 404.
Afternoon, guys. Morning.
Hey, good morning.
Hey, so you kind of touched base a little bit on what I was going to ask just recently with your explanation about adding more users, central exchanges. You said you've mentioned that the price of RBW, you don't really like the price of RBW. Can we do something about that? And I think speculative assets require more eyes in centralized exchanges. So I think that you said that you've got the centralized exchange coming on board. Is just one? Are you just going to test this method out? What's your plan here for that? And then also, I'm sure there's something that you're going to make or advertise to get those users to come in, those users at that exchange to kind of come in and like play the game. So can you touch base just a little bit more on
Yeah, absolutely, 4-4. So to be clear, this is not I'm not teasing RBW getting listed with this central exchange. The hope is centralized exchange. The hope is that this is the step towards that, but this is a marketing partnership because the centralized exchange has a very large non-custodial wallet base. And this is a marketing effort in which we are attempting to acquire users who leverage that wallet and are interested in playing games. And so this is kind of a first attempt on the marketing front itself. As far as listing on centralized exchanges just generally, we are pushing on that path. What I have discovered in that process is that they are looking for stronger token demand than we currently show in terms of daily volume. So I'm very focused again on driving new DAO into the game as quickly as possible, because that will spin everything up. The thing that we have shown is we have enormous economic depth here. I mean, we've been sinking something like 30,000 RBW a day. In terms of more buys than sells in the RMP marketplace. And again, that's with very little to no DAO growth. So growing DAO spins up the economy, higher demand on the token, higher volume, and it makes the listing conversations easier. The other path is we have to set down these damn deposits, which puts our treasury a bit at risk, and I'm trying to get listed without having to do that. I won't die on that hill because listing, and to your point, providing more avenues for liquidity on the token is of prime importance here. But what I'm seeing, especially in the current market, is people want to see more volume on the token, and that will lead to easier listing combos. But like, our CMO is specifically flying to token 2049 specifically to meet with a series of centralized exchanges and have these convos. For anyone experienced with this is the most black box mafia kind of bullshit I've ever seen in my professional career. And it's a bit of a painful process to go through, with every exchange having different criteria, different concern with respect to the regulations, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So these are not excuses, just the reality. We are very, very focused on getting a listing certainly before the end of the year. But again, I think the easiest thing we can possibly do is see the economy spin up, see DAO growth, and token demand increase. Makes the conversations a lot easier.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much.
Yeah, appreciate it. It's a great question. Thank you for coming up.
Okay, thank you so much, 404. We have a question from Crazy Crypto. The Kickstarter marketing activities, is it still possible to start it on September 15? It's mentioned in the last town hall.
The Fill the Pool event does start on September 15th. Yeah, does start on September 15th. So yes.
All right. Okay, now let's see, from Elist. With the current upgrade costs in nurseries and stables, is there a plan to revamp the incentives or the bonuses on upgrading the said buildings? The upgrade cost on the nursery feels like it's way too much just for decreasing the berry amount, and only for trying to crossbreed two different classes. Why not put something like an integrated breeding booster per level upgrade in the nursery? It only makes sense as better nurseries produce better babies. With how the current... Yeah, okay, that's it.
Yeah, I definitely don't disagree that we could be doing more to incentivize the upgrade of the nursery. It is something that we're chatting about on the design team front. We're already looking at strategies around the stable. I know the question was about the nursery, but on the stable front, we are looking at ways to maybe boost energy recovery times with the upgrade of the stable. So yes, we are looking at both the stable and nursery as buildings in which we want to create better alignment or better incentive around progressing those. So it's certainly top of mind. Yep, it's certainly top of mind.
All right, perfect. We have a question from the boss. Could the MetaMask login be changed to a credential login to create a simple delegation system by giving out login credentials to players?
Anything is possible if we divert our roadmap and make changes to it, is the short answer there. But again, I mean, what is the, I really continue to push on the idea that I want delegation to be handled by external partners who are focused on providing those systems and solutions and are on the hook for them, where we should be focused on the core game. Like, would I put that over potentially adding more onboarding tools and tips to help players ramp into the experience and better understand what they need to have if they show up in Connect Wallet and don't have assets, referring them out correctly, like these kind of things, or even going the custom marketplace route? There's just a lot of things that I put as far higher priority than implementing a in-house delegation system. But the Bose, you're great, and obviously we have a strong DM going, so I'm always open to hearing more ideas.
Okay. All right. From Cosmic NFT Raider, will rare and mythic land receive any future additional bonuses apart from just class benefits?
As more buildings come online, building types come online, we do have plans to for some special kind of mythic bonuses. That stuff, of course, begins to really matter as we progress towards Act 3 of the Dark Forest, which represents raids and kind of the start of PvP within the farm sim itself. So we do have some plans on that front. But right now, the productive bonuses are pretty sweet.
Okay. We have a question from Jamsky. What can the community best provide? Like, I know Axie was always looking out for creators first and onboarding low techies or those afraid of crypto. What can we best help with aside from getting the word out?
Yeah, it's a great question. Getting the word out is the most important thing every single one of us can do every single day. I think that there was, given the rough launch that we had, there was some sentiment that, oh, the game's not ready and blah, blah, blah. I would say the game is ready. So being out there and evangelizing is, I think, the most important thing that people can do. If you are creating content, posting that in Discord so that we can retweet and reshare is going to be super helpful on that front. And if you have ideas on like custom content, we're all ears. So reaching out to mods or CM team is a great way to kind of get in touch on that front if there's specific ideas that people have.
Okay. The Truth wants to ask, you mentioned a change in mechanism for the energy of unicorns. Is there any update on when that change might be taking place?
Yeah, the timing for that is in tandem with the Quest release, which is not the release next week, but the early October release. And that will come in tandem with the seed bag change. Or not change, but the seed bag meta system getting added. So yes, that is planned with quests and will be a part of Quest. I should note too, back to the question around rare and mythic land, there is potential that we will have quests that are really only achievable on those land types as a more immediate value add to people holding those assets over common. Forgot about that, but there you go.
All right. Okay, we have a suggestion from Geo 5.0. Hi, Aaron. Could you please take a look at Heroes of Might and Magic 3? I'm interested in whether we can further develop CU in this direction. With Team RPG, we already have one element ready anyway. Of course, there are other elements that can be added to the gameplay of Heroes of Might and Magic 3.
That is a game that I actually have not played, and I will check it out. I've obviously heard about it many, many times. And I know some of our team has played it for sure. So I'll check that out.
Okay. A question from Fiona. When will farm bonuses not be lost on transfer? Do we have an estimated date for that?
That will absolutely happen in one of the next two releases. That is something that I have been very frustrated about myself, and I made it really clear to my co-founder today that that needs to get done. The code is in test, and I need to get to the bottom of why there isn't confidence in releasing that yet and make sure that it has the appropriate prioritization, because I know in some cases that's even holding people back from delegation. So that is on the docket, and people can expect it in the next two releases.
A lot of the community members are wondering about that. So once we get some solid dates and updates for you, I will make sure to let the community know.
That one I will apologize personally for, because it's ridiculous that that has not been fixed. And again, I will get to the bottom of it personally today.
All right. Okay. From Delta, any discussions or new ideas being talked internally to fix unit inflation? Does Aaron think Unum sinks should be redesigned or use a portion of the treasury or a revenue channel to burn some Unum to bring it back in control?
If you look closely enough, we may be doing that already, and I'll leave that at that.
Ooh.
Unum inflation is not a concern overall, just given the nascent nature of the economy and planned future Unum sinks, as well as, again, when we spin up growth here, Unum, yeah, I'm not worried about it, but one of the things that was just mentioned is already in progress for those who are on-chain sleuthing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and the last question that we have for now, unless somebody raises their hand to ask a question, will jousting be a sink for RBW and Unum? Will you guys take a percentage and have it burned instead of giving the winners the total amount of RBW or Unum that was wagered?
Yeah, so the entry fees, whether they're Unum or RBW, 10% of the collective pot will go to the treasury. So every single game loop will be generating or removing tokens from supply, putting them back in the treasury. In addition to that, the potions system will provide additional sinks. Certainly for Unum, I don't know for certain on RBW, and given it's much more likely that RBW is the entry fee on the jousting or for the jousting tournaments, I think potions is going to be where, again, we have another kind of Unum sync coming online. That one I'm very, very excited about because the meta around what potions you bring into the matches and stuff is going to be a lot of fun. I have one too where, we want you to obviously have displayed the potions you've slotted in as you're kind of, slotting a corn into Joust, so you can kind of see and build your strategy based on what everybody else is trying to do. I have this crazy idea, and this is just me spitballing, but I like the idea of having a potion that would actually take up one of the 3 slots, but not, but would hide the other 2 potions that someone is bringing into a match. It removes a slot, but you hide the other 2 potions that you're leveraging, and that could be a very, very interesting way to kind of shake things up because it wouldn't get revealed until the start of the tournament. That's just me being crazy. Don't necessarily quote me on it, but that one I found very fun. But yes, in terms of sinks, we're absolutely ensuring the treasury gets a cut every single time a loop runs. And then the potions themselves will add a lot of depth to the crafting system and sync Unum as well as other soft currencies.
All right. Okay, we have another question regarding the fix for farm bonuses. Will the already lost farm bonuses be restored, or will just future unlocks be patched?
Future unlocks, of course, will get patched. We have a script that we will run to re-roll those bonuses. I do not think if you have already swapped your land around, I can promise you will get the exact same bonuses, but the way the script is designed, it will re-roll the number of times you've rolled. Should get you to roughly the same spot and is in a implementable, or that gives us something that we can actually build in a reasonable time frame to solve the problem for all future unlocks of land and mitigate the problem for anyone who had already unlocked and transferred their land.
Okay, so nothing certain, but there will be rerolls. Is that right?
Yeah, I just can't guarantee you're going to get exactly what you had per building, per land, but we can tell how many rolls you had and write a script and run that script across the game globally to try to run those rolls again, right? So it should get you very close, if not exactly what you had before.
Okay. So now let's close off with the last question. Absolute last question. Do potions have a rare and mythic level, or is it a tier 1 to 6?
Both.
Ooh, okay. That's fun. All right. That's a lot of crafting. That's exciting. Oh, I'm looking forward to that. Okay, so that's our very last question. So I guess this is the end of the AMA. Psych! Okay, we have a special little gift for you, community. And we can't view it on the town hall stage, so we're gonna have to ask you to hop on over to the stream lounge so we can watch it together.